Welcome back to round 2 at Steelhead Base 1. I got another day off, so we're gonna do another steelhead slash kingfly. It's gonna be an intruder of the pink variety. Gonna go through some barred ostrich and pretty much a long series of dubbing loops, a bit of wrapping, but going through a large profile fly for maybe your next king trip. Maybe you got a trip to the Dean or Connect Talk, but we're gonna go over these things in detail step by step to make sure you have a stout, strong fly that's gonna catch you a lot of fish. So hope you enjoy this take, and we'll see you on the river. First thing we're going to need is you're going to need a shank of some sort. This is going to be an up-by shank, fairly long. This is a new prototype shank that keep your eyes open. You might be seeing these pretty soon, but pretty long. You can make this fly as big or as small as we want, but for those kings in Alaska, we go pretty big, and they're like swimwear. And so we're going to go first with our base, and that's going to be a 210 thread, really strong. Next thing is going to be our Chenille intruder wire. And this is such a big fly, we're going to take a pretty decent sized piece. It's going to be around probably 4 inches. So you want to get your loop lined up depending on what you're going after. So if you're going for kings and you want to go to a size 1 or a 1/0, you're going to have to make this loop plenty big enough. And so you can do this. You can set the hook next to this piece as well to kind of line up. But just remember, when you go to squeeze this down, it's actually going to lengthen a bit too. So put it a little shorter than you think it's going to be. And then, because when it's time to go around the hook, it's going to be very long. So for a size, I like a size 1 owner. So for right here, I'm going to go about there. That's about probably around an inch. So wrap forward, wrap back, and again, give it a little bit of super glue just for a little bit of insurance. I'm going to do just a little itty bitty shot in the front and just a tiny one on the back. We're about to put our polar chenille. So now I'm going to go with this pearl polar chenille right here. And we're going to give this about 4 or 5 wraps on the back end. This is going to give a little bit of flash. The color this UV lets off in the water is unbelievable. We love using this stuff, and makes our flies look good. So give it a couple tight wraps, since this is at the back end of your shank. Okay, so go 1, 2, let's go with 4 wraps, okay? That's going to be plenty. It's going to show up in the water, and it's also going to cover that wire on the back end. Got a little UV camouflage going on. So go ahead and try and get this clipped off as neat as you can. It's not always going to be perfect. Alright, so go ahead and pull the rest of these fibers back here. Make sure this is tight, that way you don't lose it. As soon as that thing's ready to go ahead and spread it out. The other thing too is sometimes when you're wrapping this stuff, all your materials are going to get caught up, in your wrap. So it's good to have a needle of some sort, handy, or some kind of pick to make sure all these fibers are going to be out. This is going to be pivotal in this fly, and should be in a lot of flies, because you know, when materials bunch up, the fly doesn't sink near as well, and it just doesn't move right, doesn't look right. So next step we're going to do is we're going to do Arctic fox, and with this right here, you're just going to find the best chunk. I've been working on this one for a bit, so it's about time to get a new one, but you want to get a pretty decent sized piece here. Cut it off first and then I'll show you. Okay, so you want to make it a lot longer. When you cut it, make it longer than you need. That way you can use play in and out of your dubbing loop, which is what we're about to put this thing into right now. Okay, and so the first thing you want to do with this is you want to grab the tips with your fingers here, and then you want to pull all this fuzzy material out right here. Okay, sorry, let's go ahead and give it a couple pulls. Let's get all that fuzzy stuff out of that way. You got some good clean fibers. They're gonna stick up when we put this thing in. Okay, so I'm gonna set this right here, and now for the dubbing loop. Okay, so you can take your pointer finger, lay it on top of your thread, and come up and around, and you want to make this you know, just long enough to do this first set. I'm going to do all these one by one, since we're just doing a step-by-step tie. But once you start getting good at your dubbing loops or your composite loops, you can put all your materials in one loop and do your stations. And so we got our dubbing spinner here, decent amount of weight. This is going to help this thing cinch down tight, and it's going to make our stuff spin really nice. So you're going to grab the back end here with your fingers, and you see how I've got this finger in already, and that's going to open that piece up so you're not fighting getting the material in here. And so you're just going to press the material in, okay, and then get this other finger out, and then you're going to slide this material up to the very top, and then you want to give this just a couple spins. If you don't give it a couple spins, your fox is going to slide out and down, and it's pretty much going to be a mess. And so now we've got it, you know, somewhat tight. So now we're going to get into spinning our Arctic fox. And so see, it stays in tight since we gave it a couple wraps. We didn't want to make it too tight because we still have stuff to do here as far as figuring out what length you want, and then also spreading this out so when you spin it, it spins and spreads properly. If you do this, it's going to bunch up and it's not going to look right. It really won't. So you want to start from the top and pull down from the bottom, okay? So start at the top and just, if it slides too easy, give it a couple more cranks, okay? You got to work it through. Awesome. You see how you can just spread it ever so slightly. And so it's pretty good length right there. So I'm going to give it a couple more, and then it's going to spin on you, but just get it fairly tight, and then make sure these fibers are straight, and then you want to cut off the excess pieces here. Okay, if you want this to lay down, you're going to want to cut these really tight. If you want it to stick up more, you're going to leave some of these fibers out so it gives it more of a base. Okay, but we're going to do right in the mid level, but I'm going to cut these things tight so it's square. Okay, go right back up here too. Excuse me. And so next thing, so since we got this right where we want it to be, I'm actually pulling it a little bit, we're going to pinch this lower end here with our two fingers, and then we're going to spin this almost like a snap, okay, and then we're going to stop it and then pull down, and see how that material just spins in nice and neat and even, and it's still not done. So we got this, we got our pick again. Make sure you're picking all these fibers out. See how stuff's just kind of falling? You want all that stuff out by the time it hits the river, because it's gonna go out when you start casting anyway. I'll give it a couple extra cranks, make sure it's tight. give it a couple more picks, and then you can start wrapping. And so again, pick this thing up, and then start pulling these materials back. See, that's just like wrapping a feather, but it's going to be super strong, and the materials just stack and wrap really nicely, and it's going to pick out, and it's going to look pretty good once it's all said and done. So go ahead and cinch that tight. Make sure it's really tight, because when you let go of this is going to unspin. It might loosen up the materials. Okay, excellent. Okay, so we got that in there. Next step is going to be our ostrich. Okay, and we got our barred ostrich plume here, and we're gonna do slight orange and pink variation. I hear this works good on the Dean and on the Connect Talk. I know it works good on the Connect Talk. Maybe one of these days they'll get to the Dean, but we're gonna start here. But so you got your really nice strong hackle fibers here. The beauty of drabs is the drabs are a much stronger feather than just a regular ostrich plume. Very strong, gives a really stiff look. And so I'm gonna go about right there. It's really easy to put too many materials in your dubbing loop, but you see how you can kind of spread this back, and then you can stick your finger in here, grab, and then cut this, and you cut it as close to the stem as possible here. Okay, because you want to be able to make these as long as short as possible, so don't cut them too short. So length, I'm gonna just make sure these tips right here, they're all pretty even. I'm gonna make sure these tips go just past the end of the loop here, okay? Just past the end, because you're gonna have your main hook and then the wrap, and you just don't want it to be too far back towards the bend, okay? Again, dubbing loop, this, you don't have to make this one near as big, so you can just change up the sizes and lengths of your loops depending on how much material or how many materials you're going to put in your loop. So we got that. Same thing, got my finger in the middle, pull it through, pull it up, and then go ahead and give it a couple, just till it's tight. See how it's still fairly loose in there? Excellent. So I'm going to spread this out again, and yeah, you can get it spread out down here below all your other hackles, so it goes easier, and then at the last second you can move it all up with the padding of your finger. I'm going to cut all those tight and square, and with this step you want these tag ends of this ostrich to be not super tight to your thread, but just a little out, but you don't want too much. If you go out too much, it's going to look messy. If you go in too tight, it's your drab or your feathers are just going to fall out, super easy. Okay, so pretty much got it where I want it. They're all spread out nice, pretty much in the same way they came off. So pinch, and go ahead and spin it, and see how this material right there is getting in the way already. So that's where this tool comes in again. Okay, and just go right in diagonally and go ahead and just get it out, and it comes out, and then see how it allows your drab to spin. Okay, you don't got to get too crazy. The crazier you get with the spinning, the weaker your thread's going to get. So go ahead and pull it back, and then again wrap as tightly the Arctic fox as you can, okay? Make sure all this material is pulled back as best as possible, just for a clean look. Yeah, I'm definitely not trying to break any speed records with these flies. These flies are meant to be strong because they're going to get beaten up all day. Lots of casts and shoot, might be taken off the boat, gravel, sticks, snags, you name it. So we want to make sure this thing is strong. So we got that back end spun there. And so, you know, like a lot of flies, especially king flies, we're going to add some flash to this thing, okay? And there's the other debate of too much and not enough. And this flashy boo, you don't need a whole lot to get a lot of flash out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put 2 strands on both sides of this thing. And that's going to give plenty of flash in the back end. Right by that fish's face. I cannot tell you how excited I am for kingfishing. I look forward to it every year, just like steelhead. So you're going to find 4 fibers. Okay, and so the end you cut off is going to be the square end, right? So you go and turn that back towards the hook. And then go ahead and find out and make sure they extend just past your drab here, okay? So about right there, I know is where I need to be. So I'm also, that's a lot of extra stuff, but I'm going to leave a little extra because I'm probably going to want to pull these things apart and position them right. So let's find 2 first. Okay. Just go ahead and go right on the side. So you're going to be able to move these things around no problem. But you just want to put like 2 wraps, 1, 2, and then you see how you can pull this thing right where you want it to be. Okay, there's 1 set to the other side. Okay, and so now that we have the length back that we want, I'm going to spread these things out, okay, because I want some coverage. See, I can spread those out a bit, and then when these things lay flat, it's going to cover this whole piece, okay. Next one on the other side. Excellent. And then go ahead and keep this tight, and then go ahead and wrap back all the way to the drab. And then go ahead and trim off the excess flash-a-boo here. Okay, that's our first station. So now we're gonna go with some more flash for this body. Okay, we're gonna go with some pearl tinsel, and we're gonna do a bit here because I like to do a little, cut off a little more than I need because it gives me a good grip to wrap around. The worst thing you can do is let it slip out of your fingers right towards the very end. So, and round we go. Yeah, you want these things nice and tight and super even. You know, some guys will put down super glue again. That way it makes sure these things stay on, and you know, keeps that thread base, you know, hardened. And you know, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to put the eyes in right now. That way I have a gauge of how I'm going to do this next step. Okay, so this is just a small set of dumbbell eyes here, and in red you can do white depending on what you're going after. With the chartreuse king intruders, I go with the white or a chartreuse. The black and blues and the pinks, I go with this red color here. So this piece all the way up. Give yourself a thread base. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go all the way tight here because I actually want to wrap some things around these eyes here just to give it a little more. Okay, so I'm going to hold these barbell eyes back just a little bit, okay? So we have some room to wrap up front, just a couple materials. So go ahead and give a couple wraps each way here. Again, these are king flies, steelhead flies. It's going to be in cold water, crummy conditions, hitting logs and rocks. We want to make this thing as strong as possible. So again, let's put a little more super glue right up top. Make sure these things are firm in. Stay. Okay. And then go ahead and cinch your roll. Straight back to, you know, our next step, which is pretty much the same difference. We're gonna change up the materials just a little bit, because the front end of this fly is gonna be represented by mostly pink, okay? And again, we're gonna go right back with this polar chenille here, the pearl, and just give it a couple wraps. Same one, four wraps, because you want to go around and forward. Quick fix. You just want to do 4 wraps, then get that thing stacked in, okay? Okay. So let's get this excess piece trimmed off here, and again, we're going to get it cinched down tight, and then we're going to pick out these strands here, polar chenille. That way everything is moving free again. Excellent. Okay, don't be afraid to fluff it up towards the eye of the hook as well, and then just let it flow a little bit. Pull those excess pieces out. This actually wrapped pretty clean. You see there's a piece there. Go ahead and just pull that out. Excellent. Okay. Next thing, dubbing loop. Okay. And also a good thing to know with the dubbing loops too, and you always want to have, you know, a little bit of extra room down here, because you want to be able to put your finger in there and pinch down, because it just makes it wrap so much nicer. Okay. And another thing we're going to do is we're going to go around this twice, remember? Okay, and we still got some material getting wrapped up, and we'll fix that here in a second, but let's go ahead and make your loop. Drop that. And so I already cut some up earlier, so we're just going to use this piece right here. So try and make these line up as best as possible. Okay. And so when you get them lined up to where you want them to be, go ahead and get this end cut square. Okay, so you know exactly how long or how short you want to make this thing. And so we're going to make this thing really stand up. So I'm going to leave a little extra, you know, excess material on the other side of the dubbing loop. So again, go ahead and throw it in, push it up top, then give it a couple spins. So now it's in there nice and tight, so you can evenly spread it out now. Just go ahead and pull it all the way up towards the eye of your hook. You can even do this with both fingers. You can hold this up top, especially if this material's not spreading the way you want it to, which it can do. And just know, the more you spread it out, the more it's going to want to spin on you, just like it's doing to me now. Okay, if you have to, just unspin a little bit. And that'll stop, or it'll at least loosen up. Okay, once we're where you want to be, and that's almost even with the end of your polar chenille, which is right there. Go ahead and just give it a couple more spins, and then we're gonna just leave a little bit more tag end out than we did the last time. Okay, a little more. spread this out a little bit more, and then we're going. Excellent. So, pinch, spin. Excellent. So that's all picked out. Spun in tight. So go ahead and tilt that thing up here, and then pull back. And as you pull back, it's going to spin on you, and it's going to want to make you change your position on the wrap and how you're pinching it. So go ahead and start wrapping. Okay. So that's in there. Still got plenty of room for the rest of our stuff here. See how that fox just pops up like that? When I'm done here, I'm gonna run this needle through everything, and it's still gonna pop up more. I'm really gonna put this fly through the ringer before it even gets to the water. So make sure that's tight. Next step is gonna be pink guinea, and so we got these jumbo guinea feathers here. Just take the whole piece out so we can have a look. So you just want to find, you know, a decent one. That's a good one right here. Pull that out. And then again, strip these fuzzy ends here. We're going to drop this in right up top. These feathers come in a bunch of different colors. Depending on what shop you go to, you might not find these at all. So, and that's the key to all good flies, is the start, which is good materials, and it's nice to have good reliable fly shops. So you got that thing tied in, ready to go. So again, go ahead and just peel these back. When you tie this in, you want these fibers facing forward towards the eyes instead of back in the natural fashion, because we want this thing to flare, okay? Because we want this thing to pulse in the current, because it will. And so after this thing's tight, we're gonna pull these back and we're gonna go ahead and wrap. Yeah. Every material is gonna fight you to the very end. I don't care about these strays up front. They're all going to get dealt with here shortly. But just get this thing in. Go ahead and make sure this is tight. So go ahead and pull on it a little harder and tighten that up. Okay, excellent. Peel these extras back. Okay, next is we're going to do pink barred ostrich. Okay, so next we're going to do our pink drab. And so, same thing, barred. Use a pretty decent sized chunk of this already. So, let's go ahead and grab, so you can take your finger and just find how far up you want to go. Let's go right here. And go ahead and cut it as close stem as possible here. Okay, so these are all set and ready to go here. Just grab the back end. You can see there's kind of there's a short one here. Yeah, that doesn't need to be there. Okay, the rest are pretty good. So again, are you done yet? Okay, so this is going to be our last dubbing loop. I know you're sick of seeing them already, but they hold strong and they wrap tight. So go ahead and wrap all the way back, 2 around, cinch tight, and wrap all the way forward, okay? You want just to extend right to about mid of these next feathers, because remember, when we tie these in, they're gonna spring up and they're gonna seem like they get shorter. So go ahead and get it to the length. We're gonna do max here. So a couple spins just to get it tight. Okay, so pretty even. Okay, so again, pinch and spin to win. Okay, one more time. And so as you pull back, it's going to want to keep spinning on you. So as soon as you're back, go ahead and bring it up and around. Okay, and so what I try to do with my drabs, or really any ostrich, is I try and make it to where I put enough in to where I go around once. Sometimes you do a little more, sometimes you do too much. It's a learning curve, but you'll figure this out when you start spinning a lot of ostrich or drab. You know, whatever you do, whatever you spin, really. So got that in there, and so go ahead and spread these out. Make sure they're not bunched up or doing something funny. Lastly, we're gonna go with some Anilimus brush, and so you got all these different colors and different types, and you know, bring some sparkle to your fly, so you can come and match it up and see what you want. If you want something a little more flash, you're gonna go with this, but I'm gonna pretty much stay right in towards this tone here, a much softer pink. This has been doing really good for me as far as steelhead as of lately, in a much smaller version. So we're gonna go ahead and get this piece tied in here. Okay, go ahead and cinch that thing down. So when you cut this brush, okay, it's got a metal core to it, and when you get your thread around it, sometimes right around where you cut it, it's really sharp, and it'll break your thread. So just be careful when you're wrapping around. Okay, so just like any material, you're gonna grab this and you're gonna pull all these materials back. Okay, just so it's nice and neat, and you're not constantly battling. You're gonna pick it out anyway, so again, it doesn't matter. So again, I'm gonna go around here, and then I'm gonna go over this piece. There, you can see it's starting to get a little funky, a little bunch up right there. That's just fine. Okay, come around, up over the top, and then come back under and start wrapping in front of the eyes. Okay, you don't gotta do too much in front. Okay, because you still want pretty good drop from your eyes. Okay, and so I'm going to do one more wrap after I spread this out, and then we're going to call it. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so again, your needle tool here, find where you want to tie off, and go ahead and pull that material away. This is much cleaner because this has a tendency to bunch up, and so you really want to make sure that's clean. Okay. Okay, make sure that's tight, then go ahead and snip it in. Excellent. And then go ahead and finish this off. Wrap a little loose when you go around you know, where you just clipped off, because again, it can cut your thread. Go around loose and get a little bit on top, and then go ahead and start giving it a couple cranks, and make sure it's set in there nice. We got a good clean head on our fly. Then whip it. Okay. So before I put my head cement on too, you know, this is another thing I want to focus on. Is so we're gonna put this fly through the ringer now. Okay. So again, with your needle, I want you to see how when you pick this out, it's gonna start to spread, and all these fibers are gonna start flowing the way they should, the way they're supposed to, the way that water is gonna affect these materials and these flies. Okay. And then, you know, like I said, putting it through the ringer, take my hand and I comb all this stuff forward. Any excess materials gets discarded. Okay. There shouldn't be a whole lot if you did this right, because you should have taken out most of the bad materials. And so you got this fly here. All the materials are set. You got both your stack stations. Excuse me. Push that back. See, we still got one clinging here. Just give this the work through. Back. And that is a pretty awesome intruder for kings and tidewater. You know, steelhead, any winter steelhead, but anadromous fish in general. You know, if you stick to, you know, the prime colors, you know, with kings, it's always been chartreuse, pink, and black and blue. I mean, and black and blue catches everything on the planet. So, you got your loop back here, and we're gonna go find our number one hook here. So, size 1s hold really well for these kings. Okay. Okay, you want to pinch this thing tight here, and you can put it straight through the eye of the hook. Sometimes if you can't pinch tight enough or it's really cold, you got to pass a piece of mono through here and then pass the mono through this piece and then pull it through. Okay, you got to be really careful though, or else you might find yourself with a new piercing. So go ahead and pinch that thing down as well as you can. Then go and force it right through. Make sure the wire's not twisted up on you. And then go around back behind the bend here. And go ahead and pull that guy tight. Okay. Pull it tight and really give it some here. And remember, be really careful when you're brushing your stuff back. And this is a really important step in this entire fly right here. And I want you all to watch this. Okay? Excellent. Okay? Barbless is best. It's best for your clients, best for your safety. It's best for the fish, especially if you're a catch and release fisherman. And if it's a windy day, regardless. But this is what it is. That's my king intruder, in this color, big and nasty, just the way they like them. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry it took so long, but good things take time. Thank you.